Stir! Stir! Stop hitting him, Stir! You know God's watching. You're gonna go to hell, Stir. He didn't do anything to you. Stir! You think you're Mr. Big Stuff, don't you? Speak when spoken to in my room. Otherwise, mister, you will get the back of my hand. I'll give you smoking in my room. I'll just have to acquaint your head with this blackboard. Welcome to Disturbers Row, a book about growing up Catholic in the 1950s and 60s and freedom kids once had to roam on their own.
Hey everybody, this is Dennis Domzalski here with another episode of Disturbers Row. Today I thought I would introduce you to the Disturbers. There's something I really haven't done before. And I know there are a few people out there who are wondering, did these kids really exist? Did Sister Zita exist? Did the school exist? Or did he just make this stuff up, because he likes to make stuff up? The answer is no. Meaning I did not make it up. Yes, we did exist. We existed then. We still exist now. So let me get into a couple of these things. One, I'll introduce you to the school and also to Sister Zita. This is Our Lady of Grace School at 2446 North Ridgeway Avenue in the city of Chicago, built in 1910. You can see it's a kind of a beautiful red brick building. Actually two floors of classrooms. On the bottom level there, you have the school hall. At this point in time, there are 1,200 kids at OLG. This is the height of the baby boom, and there's just kids everywhere. This is Sister Zita, basically one of the main characters of the book, if not the main characters. There would be no Disturbers Row if we're not for Sister Mary Zita. She was old. How old? No one knows. I'm guessing late 60s, early 70s by the time we had her in the 1966-67 school year. She had scaly hands. Her skin flaked. She had bad breath. It was really horrible. It smelled like a rotten potato. She shuffled, kind of stooped over. At the most, I think she was 5'6", and she just could not control a classroom, and she should not have been in that classroom. She had long been the subject of ridicule in the neighborhood and among kids who went to OLG since at least 1960, maybe even before that. She had earned the nickname of Zita Bug. That's right, Zita Bug. She was named after a bug. My God, how could you stand that? They're calling me a bug. No wonder she started beating everybody up. But I think that's an indication of what was going on with her. She had really idiotic sayings that, and I'll get into them. So, like what? Like this. You think you're Mr. Big Stuff, don't you? Well, I'll give you Mr. for talking in my room. Keep talking, Mr., and you will get the back of my hand. Oh, you, Mr., are the sneakiest of the sneaky. Or, you, Mr., are as bold as brass, and even bolder than that. And she had incredibly lazy speech habits. Actually for a nun who was supposed to be teaching kids, she couldn't do it. So every time she couldn't pronounce geography, and she taught geography. That was her subject. Not Sister Zita. She couldn't pronounce it. When it came time to have geography class, she would say, "Get out your geography books. Geography. Time for geography class." Who pronounces anything geography? Come on! Get with the program, Sister Zita. That's wrong. It's geography. And this is her favorite one. She could never say, what is it? When she wanted to say, what did you say? What do you mean? She never could say that. And she always had her shorthand, which was the wah. The what'd you say? The wah. The wah. Anyway, how could anyone, let alone 11 and 12-year-olds, especially boys, troublemaking boys, take that stuff seriously? Might have worked 60 years earlier, who knows, but I doubt it. And so she just did things like that. And I know in her mind she was trying to shame us into conformist behavior and into behaving. But when someone uses goofy, idiotic phrases like that, all you can do, you have only one option, and that is to laugh. And that's what we did. Now, here's another thing that I want to get into. The Disturbers Row. Where did that come from? We didn't name ourselves, and we didn't name Disturbers Row. We owe our existence to Sister Mary Zita. In the first few weeks of the school year, which had started just after Labor Day, again, 1966-67, we were scattered throughout the class. But, we talked and probably goofed around a little. So what she wound up doing is she identified us as troublemakers, that is the 5 disturbers, and she put us all in the back room by herself. Now, she thought in her mind that she had banished us to the barrens of the back room, away from the wholesome influence of all of the other good kids sitting in the rest of the class. Well, you know what, sister? That didn't work. We were thrilled to be by ourselves. We fed off of each other, and all we had to do, basically, when we were in her class, was talk to each other and goof around, and yeah, boom, boom, boom. There was no mediating influence on us, put it that way. It was just us. So she named us Disturbers Row. So she put us in the back of the room, in the back row, excuse me, called us Disturbers, and then called our row Disturbers Row. So during when we were going home for lunch and after school, she would, slightly before the bell rang, she would call the rows out by number so kids could go get their coats and their jackets, which were in a small cloakroom off to the side of the room. Well, that cloakroom was very, very small and could only fit 5 or 6 kids in at once. So she called each row individually. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. And then when she got to us, she spat out with just total contempt, "Disturbers Row!" So she named us. It wasn't us naming ourselves. You have to wonder, and certainly in retrospect, anyway, what was wrong with her? Putting 5, 11, 12-year-old boys in the back row by those known troublemakers by themselves in an attempt to shame them, of course, that defies all logic and all common sense. It would only cause them to band together to cause more trouble. And that's exactly what we did. You have to wonder, in my opinion, what century was Zita living in? I mean, that stuff didn't work with us. I can't believe it actually ever worked. Would any kid actually be shamed by saying, "You think you're Mr. Big Stuff, don't you?" Or, "You, mister, are the sneakiest of the sneaky." All I can think is that'd make a kid feel good. Like, yeah, man, yeah, I'm the sneakiest of the sneaky. Or, "You're bolder than brass, mister, and even bolder than that." How's that going to shame a kid? What's wrong with this lady? Well, there was a lot wrong with Sister Zita, and, that's what the book is about. So let's get into the Disturbers. This is Gary. I call him the wittiest of the Disturbers because he was. He was funny, he had a deadpan delivery. He was the star of the absolute zaniest, goofiest, craziest spelling bee in OLG's history, and I'll get into that in another episode. Again, he had a deadpan delivery, so every time he raised his hand, Zita couldn't tell whether he was out to get her or he was trying to pull a joke or a trick on her, because he just played it all seriously. As a result, Gary always got her. The rest of us, she could tell. "Oh, stir, blah, 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 hey, stir, stir, stir." Not Gary. He was just calm and cool. Now, this is a guy, Gary, who, he had some great lines. He, once during art class, he convinced Zita that he had a real camel hair brush. The other kids the good kids were gushing about their art supplies. And so Gary, sick of it, said, "Sister," That's our nickname for Sister Zita. Stir. We don't call her sister, we call her Stir. Stir, I have a real camel hair brush, Stir. Oh, that's nice, Gary. You want to see it, Stir? And she walks over, and then she leans over his, sort of over his shoulder, and he takes the brush and starts brushing it under her nose. And like he's tickling her, like it's a cartoon, like it's a movie. And he goes while he's doing it, Stir, it's real camel hair. And I got the hairs myself from a real camel in Egypt. Anyway, she beat the hell out of him. And another one was, we once took a trip to the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago. Dinosaur skeletons, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, we got back to the classroom and we had a few minutes left before we were dismissed for the day. Zita did a sort of Q&A of the kids saying, what did you learn? What did you like? Class, students, pupils. What did you like about the Field Museum? Kolba raises his hand, and she should not have called on him, but she always did. She couldn't help it. And he said, "Go Stir," and he goes, kind of rubbing his chin. Sir, the dinosaur skeletons, I don't think the people who put them together did a very good job, because, sir, you could still see the glue marks and the wires that held them together. And beat them up. She came back. Another one of Gary's good ones. We had to fill out mock job applications one day, to teach us skills for that when we were adults. So some of us had, funny names: Dickhead, Sig R. Et. I kind of like that one. But Gary, I don't know how he thought of it. His name on his job application was Montezuma Budweiser, and his salary requirements were 3 gold bars a month. Yeah, Kolba is just a great guy. Next one is Dave. Now, this is the self-proclaimed King Disturber. Yes, he called himself the King Disturber. I mean, come on, people. I think that should tell you something about the guy. A guy who goes around calling himself the king. Come on, dude, get over it. But he was a ringleader, and he was at the head of many of our trouble-causing adventures. And he also had this goofy thing. He's often tried to get others like us in trouble. I don't know why he did that, but he did. But he also had a way of speaking in an overly dramatic voice, and he also, feigned great concern for everything and everybody, as in, Stir, oh, Stir, Stir, I think Dennis is up to something, and Stir, I think it's real serious, Stir. I think it's really bad. And Stir, I don't know, Stir, if I were you, I'd look into it, Stir. That's the kind of thing he did. Yeah, King Disturber, blah, blah, blah. Next up, we have Bob, who's actually the kind of the most physically active, kind of a, physical comic actor, if you will. And I don't mean physically active, that he's working out, becoming muscular. We're only 11 and 12 years old. But he was always doing things, physical things, like opening windows and kind of leaning half out him. He had a favorite thing of getting into Zita's desk and trying to get back some of the school supplies that she had stolen from us. And she stole a lot of stuff from us. But his favorite thing was to lie across a bunch of desks. Now, we had these table-like desks, and if you pushed a bunch of them together, you basically could form a lengthy platform. And so Bob would find a row where 3 or 4 girls were sitting, and push their desks together, and then he'd lie on top of their desk, kind of like this, with his elbow on the desk, and pretend to be talking with them, flirting with them, and saying all kinds of goofy stuff. He had a sense of fun, and for him, as for most of us, doing battle with Zita was a game, was a fun thing. It was just this. She's acting goofy. She's trying to mess with us. Well, we're going to mess back with her. And so he really enjoyed. He always seemed to be smiling. And again, it was a game to him. Now, just the opposite is Rich, Disturber Rich, kind of a strange kid. He always seemed to be sort of simmering, kind of pissed off, always about something. Just didn't seem to have a sense of fun and joy that the rest of us had. Now, Rich is the guy who stabbed a kid in the ass with a 3-inch long drafting compass, point of a drafting compass. And he's also the guy who really did want to derail and tried to get us to help him derail a commuter train running through this, one of the many commuter trains running through the city of Chicago. Now he told bizarre stories, funny stories, wild stories, and he told them with the most serious face because he believed them. He told us one day that he and his dad used to sit on their couch and cut out their ingrown toenails with Bowie knives. That's right, with straps of leather or wood in their mouth so they could bite down and gouging into their toes with Bowie knives, which are, 18 inches long, who knows? He's also the guy who told us, again with a straight face, and I know he truly believed this because his dad must have told him this, that his dad's job in the Army during World War II was to inspect donkeys' assholes to make sure that they were clean. And apparently according to Rich, there was a squad of guys who were supposed to clean the donkey's butts. And then his dad would come around with white gloves and stick his finger in the donkey's ass. And if it came out brown, well, the guys had failed. And then Rich's dad would pistol whip. Pistol whip the offending soldiers. That's what Rich told us. He truly believed that. And I'll tell more stories about that, but that's Rich. Stabbed a kid in the ass with a compass in school, in the classroom, wanted to derail a train, and then insisted that his dad routinely pistol whipped soldiers in the Army, in the United States Army, during World War II. Rich was kind of a little strange. This is me. I was 11 years old at the start of the school year, again, 1966-67. I had been a shy, kind of a sullen brooder in my earlier years. But seventh grade really did turn out to be an absolute breakout year for me. And I have to credit my Disturber pals. Just being with them really helped me disturb even more. Without them, I don't know without each other, we would not have done what we did, what we accomplished, I should say, in terms of disturbing. I reveled in the trouble that we caused and in the attention that we got. Who wouldn't? I mean, at that age, what do you want? You want attention. Zita would always say, "Oh, class, all they do, they just want attention. They just want attention." Well, yeah, Stir, of course we want attention. What else do you think we're here for? Anyway, as I said, I was a shy guy, always too shy, too scared to raise my hand, ask any kind of questions in first grade. In second grade, I crapped in my pants in school. And that was because I was too scared to raise my hand to ask the nun to go to the bathroom. So I couldn't hold it in. I thought I could, but I couldn't. Next thing you know, it stinks. And the nun, she can smell it up front. Whew. She's getting hit with this wall of stink. And she's got to figure out where it's coming from. So she walks up and down the rows, she identified me as the culprit, and she was absolutely right. So she called me to the front of the room, and I think she was actually trying to be very nice here, and she sort of said in a quiet voice, "Mister, have have you had an accident? And you have to understand now, I'm not very bright. I don't know what she's talking about. Accident. All I can think of is car crash. And so I haven't been in a car crash. And so I go, no. And she mistakes this, misunderstands it, and thinks that I'm purposely lying and trying to deceive her. Well, I'm not. I don't know what she's talking about. And so she shouts loudly, "Go to the lavatory, mister, and clean yourself up." Well, that announces to the entire class that I have just shit in my pants. And you talk about being embarrassed, well, that was it. But again, 7th grade was a wonderful, wonderful year for me. And it set the standard for the rest of my life. I became a newspaper reporter, investigative reporter, and which basically causing trouble, disturbing. So I spent my entire adult life being a disturber. That's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. And, if you have enjoyed this, please give a thumbs up to the video, or maybe tell your friends about it. Certainly tell your friends about the book. Let's remember that the book, Disturbers Row, you can buy it on Amazon and other online retailers. It's a hoot. I mean, if you want to laugh, if you like to laugh, you'll love this. If you grew up Catholic, you will identify it. Even if you were a good kid, you'll like it. And if you crave the days, the long lost days where kids got to roam by themselves, you will absolutely love this. So it's on Amazon. Just punch in Disturbers Row. You can also go to my my website, which is disturbersrow.com, and check out some of my other books, especially the I Got Stinky Feet series. Anyway, that's it. Again, thank you. Be happy out there. Have fun.